Protests erupt in Memphis over the violent video. Protesters have blocked a bridge and chant his name. U.S. President Joe Biden is also reacting to the video, saying he's, quote, outraged and deeply pained to see the horrific video. Keith Taylor joins me once again. Keith is formerly with the New York City Police Department, as well as the Assistant Professor of Law, Police Science, and Criminal Justice at John Jay College. Keith, thanks for coming back here on CTV News Channel.
Thank you.
We were just showing our viewers some of that video. What is your reaction here?
It's a mixture of anger and disgust and horror, frankly. I would imagine that in the world of policing that we have today in this country, that modicum of professionalism beyond what we saw in that video collectively tonight. I'm just almost speechless because it's senseless, unnecessary, inhumane, and criminal. And so Americans should be angry and demand that their federal legislators do their jobs and get meaningful police reform passed and signed by our president. Our communities deserve better.
The president, we understand, is calling on Congress to send the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act to his desk to get that signed off. How important is that move right now?
I think it's important to anybody who watches this and understands that this is not an isolated incident. And it is not something that is specific to a particular race or gender or class of people. Mm-hmm. It is an American phenomenon, and we need, as Americans, to collectively understand it's not an ideological battle. It must be one that is practical, that is based on commonly accepted values that we want our police officers to represent. This is far from that. And it cannot sustain itself.
There have been continued calls to have the police defunded, to say that that money that in police budgets should be going towards rebuilding communities and giving them the support and services they need. What do you make of that? And as we're showing continued footage to our viewers right now of what is happening in Memphis, calling for justice for Tyre, say his name, very similar to what we heard regarding George Floyd, but saying the police, many are saying they need to be disbanded.
I think that a responsible position would be that we need our police officers because we have crimes and criminals and criminal organizations that will destroy our communities if the police are not there to defend them. And most police officers want to do what's best for the communities and put their lives on the line to do that. And so I think that instead of making it an either or argument, that we should look at having funding for various types of solutions. Social services is absolutely necessary, and poor and minority communities have the least resources available to them. We need to have those realistic social services, mental health services, public health measures funded and utilized in order to prevent unnecessary interactions with police. We also need our police professionalized and standardized. We need our federal legislators to bring that about. And so it's not defund one particular discipline or defund another discipline. It's getting all options on the table to allow for professional police officers to keep our streets safe, and for those who do not have adequate mental health resources and medical resources, to have those available. And we don't have that currently.
What about the training? What about the training of police, the messaging there? What do you say to that, especially, of course, new recruits that are coming in? There is this great divide. There's a lack of confidence, a lack of trust. And I understand what you're saying there in terms of having to be able to work together and provide the communities the protection that they need here. But that speaking, if you were speaking to this crowd right now, they would clearly not want to hear that. So what about when it comes to the training and the education, the changing of the mindset?
There are many different things that can be done to make police departments better, improve their impact on communities. There are many different measures that can be taken to get to that destination of having police departments as we believe they should be, that aspirational type of police department that we want. It is absolutely achievable, but it requires things like a strong disciplinary process, a strong anti-corrupt entity within a police agency, a strong police culture within those agencies that does not tolerate bias, does not tolerate classism, does not tolerate corruption within the ranks, does not tolerate excessive force being utilized as a way of street justice to solve issues. So there are a lot of different things that can be done to get the police departments that we want as a society and that we deserve and we demand. And these individuals that are out exercising their First Amendment rights to show their displeasure with government in the form of police officers, they have the right to do so, and as long as that is not violent, does not disrupt fellow citizens or cause injuries to people, they should be out there until our legislators decide to act. These individuals and everybody else who's not out there to do the right thing and pass meaningful legislation.
Keith, I appreciate you coming back here on the CB News Channel to give us your thoughts on this. I really appreciate it. This is something, of course, we're going to continue to follow. Keith Taylor is a former NYPD supervisor, as well as adjunct professor, assistant professor of law, police science, and criminal justice. Keith, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you.